Numbers 14:8. If the Lord delight in us, then he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land which floweth with milk and honey. So as I read the scripture, I felt a little bit of tension because when I think of a promise, I tend to think of something that's just kind of given, like a gift, something that's just handed over. But in this story, the land is everything God said it would be. It was good, abundant, and flowing with milk and honey. And yet it wasn't easy to step into. There were already people living there. And the people were afraid and they saw these obstacles. And it was right in that moment that Caleb and Joshua stood up and said these words. And I found myself wondering, why this way? And for this week's painting, we are going to paint a small bee resting near a flower. And the more I thought about it, the more fitting it felt, because honey is sweet, but it doesn't simply appear. There's a process to it. There's movement, there's participation. And this got me thinking. Recently, one of my art students asked me to paint something for her. And when I told her no, she was a little bit surprised. And I told her what I tell all of my students. If I paint this for you, then it becomes my painting and not yours. So instead, I showed her how to paint it again. And I asked her to try. Because even though it was difficult, the trying itself is what was shaping her. And I wonder if sometimes God works with us that way too. Not removing every challenge, but walking with us through it, forming us into people who can receive and carry the gift well. Grab your supplies, friends, and let's get started. Hello there, painting friends. We are going to use a pencil, and you're going to want an eraser for this one. We're going to be doing a little bit of drawing, and I'm going to simplify it for you, so don't be intimidated. It'll be great. I am going to warm up on my scripture page, and I am recovering from being sick, so hopefully I don't sound too sick. So forgive me if I do. And also, if you're new here, I just want to say thanks for coming to paint with me. If you're not new here, thanks for coming back. I like to warm up on my scripture page by painting with water and then throwing in a bit of my paint. You know what? I really want to turn on that overhead light, so I'm going to do that. It's a bit better. And I think I'll do a bit of blue. I actually painted the example over a week ago when I wasn't sick, and then the next day I was thinking I would do the video the next day, but the next day I got sick, so I'm kind of feeling like I'm going to be winging it a little bit today because I'm trying to remember the exact colors I used. I think I can figure it out, but we'll see. Today it might be a little bit like you know how life is, fly by the seat of your pants sometimes? Might be like that today. So, yeah. Okay. Letting this be pretty light, but kind of want a few pops of color here and there, just because I enjoy the way that looks. Trying to decide any other place. All right, there we go. I'll go ahead and give this a quick dry, and then we'll do some drawing. All right, let's go ahead and get into the drawing bit of this painting. Let's begin with our flower. That'll kind of help position us for the bee. So I'm going to just do a U shape. And depending on the angle that I have my U shape will be, the angle that the flower is at. So if you want it more tilted, you'll turn it more this way. If you want it more straight up and down, you'll turn it up a bit more. And if you want, you can sketch out a stem. okay? I'm dropping my flower a little bit lower because of the binding on this paper makes it so I have a little bit less space. Now for my bee, let's see, I'm imagining I got my petals coming up about here. So I'll put the bee somewhere over here. I want to make sure I have space for wings, so I'm not putting it all the way up here. But I am basically going to draw like a bean shape. Okay. And I'm doing it as light as I can, but hopefully you can see that. I hope you can. So basically, think about what a bean looks like. And that's a shape we're doing, okay? It's tilted a little bit. So this is the bottom of my bee. And now from this bean shape, I'm going to attach a head. So I'm not attaching the head over here, but I'm overlapping a little bit. And this head shape is a little bit more like an almondy shape. Maybe something like that. And you look at yours and decide if the head is too big, if it's too small, if the bean shape's too big or small. You know, you just kind of make adjustments based off of what you think. I'm also not opposed to like a little bit of mismatched proportions for an illustration like this. Trying to decide. I think I'm going to make it kind of somewhere in between. Maybe something like this. Okay. And from the back here, kind of fill in a wing shape. Kind of looks like a petal. We're going to put one back here too. And you can make adjustments like I said. I think the thing that makes this feel like a bee too is that eye shape. So I'm going to sketch that in. So also like an almond shape. And for this one, you may, I'll bring it up a little bit. You may want to grab a micron pen because if you look at it, we've got the black inside and we leave a little bit of white and then we have that white border. I did mine with paint, but also when I was feeling pretty good and I'm still kind of recovering. So I think today I'm going to grab a tiny pen for that. All right. Let's paint. You ready? Okay. I'm actually going to start with a flower because once I grab the black paint, it can be really hard to get the brush really, really clean. And so I feel like starting with the flower will be a better option. We're going to build out this flower shape with some painty blobs and some lines. So you decide what color you want your flower to be. I am going to do a pink and I'm going to add like some purpley colors in there as well. But I want you to think of a flower as a cup shape. Maybe if I hold my hand like this, it will help. We're going to have these outside edges. These petals are thin looking because it's turned away from us. These ones are closer to us. So this is where we can see more of the petals themselves, and then we have the center. So I'm going to start from this middle, kind of all of the petals are radiating from that center. And I'm going to, excuse me, paint in a petal shape. It's kind of following that curve a bit. If you want, while it's wet, you can drop in like some other colors just for funsies. Kind of grabbed a bit too much water on that, but you know what? I'm gonna be nice to myself. I'm still here. I'm still painting. So, all right. And then I'll do the other petal on the other side. And this is just a very simplified way to make flowers. If you love to paint and you are not new to painting and you want to paint a flower in a different way, then totally feel free to do it that way. Okay, so I did these, more of like these petals right there. Now I will do these edge petals. So I'm gonna follow that curve I did, that original curve. And then I'm just going to, on the ends, thicken it up a little bit to make it look a bit more like a petal. And I want to leave a bit of white space in between here. So I'll do that again. And I can add a bit of this blue here. And I'm kind of like, I'm a little faking with this flower. It's not, you know, exactly correct in its construction, but it gives us the illusion of a flower. So I'm trying to stick in these center petals. This top one turned out kind of flat, so I'm just gonna kind of add a little bit more curviness. And again, trying to leave a little bit of that, of a white edge in between, I find is helpful. I could grab some of that blue and drop it in, and then we'll come in with some more center bits and lines and stuff. But this is good enough for our purposes. We can add a little bit of green on the bottom, just showing where all the petals come from. I'm not having it touch. Oh, I think some of it did touch. I'm trying not to have it touch just so it doesn't bleed. Then I can do my stem. And if you want, you can add in a leaf shape. You can fill it in like a coloring book. I'm going to add some more green to that, just for variety. Just dropping in some other green. All right. You can do a second petal if you've got space. I feel like I'll just leave mine like that. Okay, now while this is drying, we're going to work on that bee. This is going to go a little bit quicker, so just bear with me. I think the trickiest part, let me just show you, is I want to create this fuzzy look, right? And some of the yellow will bleed into the black. If you don't want that to happen, then before you grab your black, then you'll go ahead and dry your yellow first. I kind of like a little bit of bleeding, but I do know the black, it can be easy to lose control of the color really quickly. Because it is so dark, it's going to really show into the yellow. So you just kind of make a choice on that if you want it to not bleed or if you don't mind. It's up to you. And what I'm going to do is just right underneath the head, instead of painting a stripe, like a solid stripe, I am pulling my paint down. So I'm doing like lines. Oh, I should have asked you to erase your pencil lines and make it lighter. But I didn't, and I already painted that bit. So let me just lighten a bit more right here. Okay. And then I'm going to put another stripe. Now, one thing I want you to notice is I'm not putting another stripe straight up and down. it has to follow the curve of this bean shape, okay? So like that. Okay. Now, again, if you do not want any bleeding at this point, you would go ahead and dry it. I am gonna just go for it. I'm gonna grab my black. And I'm gonna start in the middle. So I'm not like trying to purposefully have it touch a lot. So by starting in the middle, I'm giving that yellow paint some time to dry. You'll even notice on here, I don't go right up to the edge on all of it. I have some white space in between. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm just like slowly bringing that black out a bit more and let just it touch a bit in some spots. And then we have a little bit of that bleeding. And then same thing right here. We'll start, so I can start on the bottom of this one because there's nothing else on the bottom that it can touch. And bringing it up to make it so fuzzy and cute. Let it touch a little bit. Okay. Now that head. It's probably going to be easier for me to turn my book. So I will. I'll go ahead and paint this in. And what I can do is I'm going to just do little tiny lines kind of coming down to make it look a little fuzzy, but not like as fuzzy as these. Okay, now when I go into that yellow, or close to that yellow, it may bleed. So I'm going to just try and be careful. Since that was the first stripe that I painted, it might not. Looking at it now, I think I want to add a little more yellow to that, but I'll give it a minute so that it doesn't get into that black a bunch. Okay. Cute little bee. And then I'm going to grab some of the blue for wings and I'm going to make it really watery. I just had this already on my palette. It's just a dirty area. You could have like a, blue or some other color that you can really make watery with a lot of water, and that'll help it look more transparent, right? So I'm going to go ahead and fill in. I want it even more watery. This shape. And the other thing I'm trying to do is I'm not going to fill in all of it. So I'm leaving a little bit of white space for a little bit of just the shine and all of that, more transparency. Okay, we're going to leave that be alone for just a minute and let me check. Okay, this is still a little wet, so I'm going to give this a quick dry. Okay, I'm actually going to grab another brush just to be sure I don't have black on it. And I'm going to grab a little bit of purple. And I'm going to do just a little loose outline with broken lines around my petals. And this is just kind of like a fun whimsical touch. Okay, and they do not have to even follow the exact shape of your petals. It's just kind of like a fun way to add a little bit more whimsical look. So see, I went outside of the lines. You're allowed to, you can do it. So adding a few, again, keeping them a little bit loose and broken, so not all connected, is helpful. And on this one, I have some like centers coming out too, and then added some like pollen and stuff on the top. I think I'll go ahead and do that. So add a few lines. I need to make it a little bit darker so it's a little bit easier to see. We add one up here. Maybe something like that. Just do some dots. I don't think this flower exists in the real world. I don't know what it is. It's just a made-up flower. Okay. And then also from the centers, can make a few lines from on the bottom and help kind of show the shape of that cup, right, that we're creating. Can help. Again, very loose, very whimsical, very light. Can also add, kind of keeping in line with that theme, outlining loosely your leaf. I'm struggling a little bit getting paint on my brush, getting enough loaded on today. And you can add a little line. Okay. Those bees' legs are going to be like right up on that flower, aren't they? That's okay. All right. I think that that's dry enough. I'm going to actually tackle the eyes really quick. Guess it's more that I'm tackling the eye. Make sure that that isn't wet. Okay. So I'm going to outline. I'm going to do, well, basically mimicking the same shape, right? But I'm trying to leave a white border of paper and then a shine like that. And I think that's as good as I can do today. So I'm going to just say that that's good. I do want to, just looking at this, I feel like she needs a bit more stronger yellow. So I'm just going to go over it a bit more. And cleaned my brush. I'm going to add a little bit of an outline around these wings here. And similar idea to what we've been doing where they can be broken lines. It doesn't have to stay in the lines, but just to give a little bit of an indication and playfulness of what's going on. Adding these final details here really going to make it look like a bee, right? So the first thing is going to be the antenna. So I drew a line coming up. We could do a little line coming down. Do a little kind of like dot thing on the end. I wish I'd made it longer. Okay, it's not. And then we're going to do some little legs, so they kind of like curve down. And they come from this, a few different sections, right? Oop. Yep, it's right on top. Okay. Really want this to be longer, like a lot. I need to step away, leave it alone. Okay. So there you go. There is our bee painting. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye, friends.